Hello friends, thank you for joining me again today. My name's Dan, and this is Daily Art Adventure number 739. Hard to believe. This is a painting, today is Wednesday. I started this painting Monday evening, set up my easel quarter of a mile from here. Hello David! Set up my easel a quarter mile from here, down by the water, looked across the water and saw something like this. I do have a photograph of it on my computer, and I'm nearing the finish. I'm not promising to finish the painting during this broadcast, but I decided I'm doing just enough interesting things to make it maybe worth a broadcast. So let's zoom in. I worked on it Monday night and a moderate amount yesterday, and now again today. So yesterday I did my typical glaze, transparent glazes over the whole thing. So that's already done. So that's the reason I'm not doing another glaze right now, is because I just finished one. I'm going to try to get this so that as much of the painting as possible, but as little of the background as possible. All right. So before yesterday, these white bits, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, if I could just call it 6 white areas, they were brighter than they are now. And then it had a warm yellowish glaze, warm yellow glaze on them. You with me so far? So they used to be about this color. Then I'd glaze them so they're darker and richer. But that allows me now to come back and re-accentuate, re-punch the lights. And that certainly is following one of my rules, which is anytime you put dark on your canvas, then you're not finished. That's just the setup for coming back and doing more light. So I'm following that. Now you understand, I'm not doing this in order to follow the rule, right? But it just so happens that I am in fact following that rule by doing this. And so now this is even more rich, more complex than it was, because of course, so let's go here to the boat, for instance. Because of course I don't paint over the whole area that I glazed, right? Just bits and pieces here and there, allowing, again, this color right here, allowing it to show through, but hitting it with just a little bit more light. And all the stuff I'm doing now is really, what's the word, photographic, beyond overarching, beyond the mere photographic, if you will. Generally speaking, the further you go in a painting, the less, I'm trying to say, I'm cautious about saying this, the further you go, the less important, perhaps I could say, the less important the photograph or the reference becomes, because the painting takes on a life of its own. So even all these details that I'm doing right here, it's not in order to achieve realism, because I doubt very much that those lines, they're not on the boat at all. It just, a little bit more texture right here, just looks a little bit better. You can see enough of my painting to tell the focal point is right where I want it. Oh, I will tell you, and I'll move down just a little bit, I'll move up first. So I'm pretty happy with the sky. The sky ended up being decidedly more sunset than I had expected, but that's all right. It's beautiful. I'm going to let it go. One of the major tasks that I have yet ahead of me is to paint reflection of the sky. So that that orange here and blue out here. So that's a big job, relatively speaking, yet ahead of me. And I wouldn't be surprised if I do that part off camera. We'll see. We will just see. So let's continuing with the task at hand. Once again, I'll tell you where I am and what I'm doing. I am in beautiful Beaufort, North Carolina. I've probably, well, let me put it this way. If I counted how many days I've painted in Beaufort, I would think I've probably painted nearly, over the last 15 years, nearly 30 days in Beaufort. For instance, we rented this house. I'll tell you who we is in a minute, but we rented this house. I showed up, Sunday afternoon. Monday morning, I went out and looked at the outside of the house and said, wait a minute, I've painted this house. I have no idea what happened to that painting. No idea if it's sold. I can't even remember, but it's like, I painted this house already. Here we are staying in it. All right, so I am in Beaufort, North Carolina with 4 other artists. My partner in crime, Mike Rooney, he and I have now done this annual painting thing 7 times. This is our 6th year. And in the last, so other than the first time, and we've invited other artists to join us. So it's Mike Rooney, David Foster, Richard, and Rusty. I'll get back to you with last names when I'm not painting. All of a sudden I'm drawing one of those stupid, truly stupid. When I'm painting, sometimes my brain just turns to smush. Anyway, having a great time. Leaving tomorrow, so this is our last full day of painting. I might paint a little bit more tomorrow before I leave for home. We're about 3¼ hours from my home. Got your comment, David? Nope, it's fixed now. Nope, it is. That is correct. Maybe it doesn't look correct on the camera, but it is. It's a 1/4 inch. Boom. Which is about appropriate. But thanks for the input. Anyway, hello, Susan. Hello, Jake Alma. Good, thanks for making a comment. Huh, that's interesting. A rescue buoy on the back of every boat. That's a great tip. I will look at it. I think I must have put my rescue buoy on this one up front. I'm just about finished doing this little bit of highlight. pick you up in just a minute and let you see some of this texture that I'm working on, let you see it up close. I am pretty happy with, at the moment, with the texture. Did you catch that move? A little finger painting there. I put down a very hard line with a palette knife and then rubbed it out with my fingers. Usually after I do that, I say, never paint with your fingers. In other words, don't do as I do, not as I say. I paint with my fingers quite a bit. But once again, I don't use any toxic, no cobalts, no CADs, and no cobalts in my particular palette. All right, so I've got a very, what color? Almost a Naples yellow on my brushes right now. And I'm just looking for places to add some sparkle. One of my favorite words for describing this phase, this stage of the painting process. All right, hang on. I'm going to continue, but I'm going to pick you up for a minute. Forgive me the earthquake ride. And it's lovely, beautiful rain. And my wife tells me it's raining at our house too, which is great because we really need it. All right, so let's see if I can just show you. All right, hang on. I need to do an adjustment here. I have brightness. All right, so now the brightness is adjusted correctly, so I think you can see it better. Just for fun, just want you to see the texture up close. I like the patina. That's really the best word, maybe, to describe some of the stuff. This is not quite finished. I'll probably do a tiny bit here. But this area right in here, the boats, that's very close to finished. That's a good enough of a close-up, maybe. The other day I was talking again about priorities in painting. Okay, back to some sparkle now before I move on. And looking at the photograph here behind me, just this whole boatyard is just a cacophony of texture. Anyway, I was talking the other day about priorities, and I said the drawing has to be correct. And again, forgive me, any of you who are early journey painters, I teach quite a bit, and 95, 6, 7, 8% of the challenges and problems, if you will, that they're more finger painting there, that people have with their painting are in fact drawing problems. Anyway, so the priorities, but that's sort of a separate category. Using a sports analogy, you do not get any credit. You don't get any points on the board for getting the drawing right. This is really mean, but somebody has to tell you this. You don't get any credit, so to speak, for getting the drawing correct. You just get eliminated or kicked out of the game, kicked off the field for getting the drawing wrong. No credit for getting it right, but eliminated, vetoed, kicked out of the game for getting it wrong. Okay, once you've got the drawing right, in my opinion, the most important aspect of a painting is play of light. Okay, that goes under the values category. But play of light, which does not mean which way is the light coming from. That's not nearly dynamic enough. It means dynamic, dramatic, even violent things, violent words happening with the light. Words like explosions of light, glistening, blistering, and so forth. All right, those kind of words. Second, in my opinion, second most important aspect of a successful painting is composition. Not going to stop there today. I'll keep on going. Third most important aspect of a painting. This is what I want to get to. In my opinion, in my humble opinion, and doggone it, everybody knows how humble I am. Third most important is, in my opinion, texture. So that's, I was just showing you a few minutes ago with his close-up view, some texture. So the surprise there for most people should be that I put texture above color. I think texture is even more important than color. One of the reasons I think that is because you can see, you can have an absolutely jaw-dropping, life-changing, gorgeous painting with virtually no color in it. The same cannot be said of texture. In other words, you can have a painting with glorious color, but not much texture. And in my opinion, again, my humble opinion, that is a weak painting. So in other words, well, okay, so the classic example of that would be Piet Mondrian. Great color, terrible texture, but he was doing something different. That's right. I actually like Piet Mondrian quite a bit, but he comes to mind as one who does color but no texture. And just one more comment along those lines. Again, my philosophy of painting, if you will, is that given the choice, all things being equal, which many times they are not, of course, but all things being equal, our eyes would rather yes see than no see. I know that's a very strange way to put it. Given the choice, so Mr. Smith, would you like texture with that painting? Or Mr. Smith's eyeballs, would you like texture with that painting? The answer essentially is always, yes ma'am. I would like texture with that painting. Given the choice, they'd rather have. Now, all of these, of course, all of these rules can be broken. But I'm not going to talk about the people who have MFAs and are modern contemporary artist painters who are at war with beauty. That's a completely different adventure, and it may be a worthwhile human endeavor, but it is not really at all related to those of us who are trying to create beauty. We're on a different planet from the entire art establishment. So just make a note of that, okay? Make sure that you know. If you want to create beautiful paintings, steer clear of the university. They will not help you on your way to making beautiful paintings. They're about something different. And again, it might be a worthy human, what they're doing might be a worthwhile human endeavor, but it's a completely different one than what I'm after. And all those muscular concrete. All right, so texture. Anyway, beyond that, color next, and then beyond that, I don't know. I don't have an opinion about what's next. So again, my priorities of order of importance. First of all, a separate category. The drawing has to be correct, unless you're doing a weird drawing, even a little bit like Van Gogh. And again, I love Van Gogh. He was on a slightly different task. But after the drawing, you get no points for getting drawing right. You just get kicked out of the game if it's wrong. All right. After that, number 1, play of light. Number 2, composition, which we talk about quite a bit. I'm not going to talk about it now. Number 3, texture. And number 4, color. That's just one way to, if you will, subdivide or think of the painting process. And then an overarching statement sort of on top of that. Given the choice, our eyes would rather yes see than no see. So eyeballs, would you like to see stuff? The answer is yes. Ironically, this is just kind of funny that when I say that, there's a verse in the Hebrew Scriptures called the book of Proverbs. At least that's what us we goyim called the book. There's a verse that says, "The eye never tires of seeing." And I find that. I'm not sure that art was at the forefront of the author's mind when they wrote that. But I find it fascinating that it's quite true. The eye never tires of seeing. In fact, the fact is, and is as we get older, and if any of us if we live long enough, virtually every human being loses their eyesight. If you live long enough, right? 110, 115. Let's be absurd here, right? We're all heading toward a decay. And I think if you asked any of those old people, hey, did you get tired of seeing stuff? I mean, unless they're waxing really absurdly philosophical, I think most people would say, no, I really miss my eyes. That's what I'm going to say when I'm that age. All right, let me back up for a minute. I've got a very specific task I want to accomplish here, and that is that pylons, these posts, wooden posts in the water, as I said yesterday, at least in my part of the country, my part of the world, are always green because of how they're treated, so that so they don't rot, or they don't rot very quickly. They rot very slowly. They're always green, and I don't have any green indicated right now at all. So let's tackle that. Then I think the next thing I want to tackle after that is still in my focal area here. I want to do a separate step of secondary light. Ooh, okay, I haven't said this in a long time. This is one of my self-concocted truisms. That is to say, a thing that is true about painting, not absolutely. There are very few things that are always absolutely true, but mostly true, a truism. Back to play of light. I wasn't going to define it at all, but here's a fresh definition, if you will, of play of light. It is this. Are you painters listening? All right. The viewer doesn't care what the light is hitting. Let me say that another way. The viewer doesn't really care what the light is on. What the viewer cares about is what the light is off. Well, okay, so I'm trying to say it in a way that's, a mnemonic, a memorable turn of phrase. I will explain that in just a minute, but let me say it again. The viewer doesn't care what the light is on. The viewer cares what the light is off. Okay, very strange, cryptic. This guy's weird. Okay, so now let me define that a little bit. Not define it, let me say it with different words that make more sense. The viewer doesn't care what the light is on, the viewer cares what the light is off. What I mean by that is we don't care very much about what the light is hitting. What the viewer really cares about, and again, please understand, you know this, don't you? But I feel anybody new people, in no way do I expect non-artists to walk up to any good painting in the world and have any verbal analytical explanation of what's hitting them. Everything I'm saying is underconscious, subconscious, subverbal, whatever. So I don't expect non-painters, especially, to walk up and say, "Oh yes, blah blah blah." No. It's all. But these are the things we're supposed to know as painters. All right. The viewer doesn't care what the painting is on, or what the light. I'm sorry. The viewer doesn't care what the light is on. The viewer cares what the light is off. What I mean, in common language, is it's not light hitting things that thrills our soul. What thrills our soul is light bouncing off things and hitting other things. So secondary lighting. That's what really, I'm using the silly terminology now, that's what really thrills our soul. Okay, let me say that again. The viewer doesn't care that the light is hitting stuff. The viewer cares that the light is bouncing off stuff and hitting other stuff. Okay, now clearly you understand that's an exaggeration, right? You understand that. Exaggeration for the sake of pedagogy, for the sake of teaching. But there's going to be quite a bit of that in this painting, especially. That's, by the way, part of the reason why pretty much all people really like water scenes. Because in a water painting, it's not the light hitting these boats, say for instance, it really tickles people's innards, to use another analogy. It's how the light is reflecting on the water off the boats. That's what tickles them. Likewise, light hitting the corner of this big boat and shining on this corner of this house. That's what tickles us. So there you go. I'm not going to say it after this anymore, but there you go. What is play of light? Well, one way to conceive of play of light is light bouncing. Secondary or even tertiary, that is third reflection lighting. And that's what tickles the viewer. That's what you see in a good landscape, say for instance. That's in a sense what atmospheric perspective is. It's light bouncing off not hitting, but bouncing off the atmosphere. That's what is intriguing to the viewer. All right, so I think I'm done with my green. Let me see some good long comments I just saw come by a minute ago. Hello, Nancy. Thank you for commenting. Yes, Susan, it is raining. I love the sound. Before I leave, while I've got this green on my brushes, I do this often. I look around and say, instead of wasting time in paint by cleaning these brushes, is there something else on the painting that could use this color? I'm afraid what's on here is too bright for these trees back here, but maybe just a couple touches. Yeah, let's look at the photograph. When in doubt, look at the photograph, you know? Okay. No, I'm not getting much help there, really. So I'm on my own. So I'm going to make something up. Evidently, I do want to make stuff up. I'm just adding some ultramarine blue to this green. So now I've got sort of a dirty aqua, dirty turquoise. And my brushes are very dull green. Oh, this will look nice right here. By the way, let me let you in. I'll let you in on my inside of my head. How and why did I all of a sudden know that this color green? The answer is because that's the color that was already there. So now, but everything that was there was underpainting. It was the product of layers and layers and layers of acrylic and oil and glazes and so forth. Does that make sense? And all of a sudden I went, wait a minute, that's almost that exact color. And in the final edit layer, which is the layer that I'm in right here, same thing here. Now, what's on my brushes is just a tiny bit lighter, brighter than what's already there. This gets us back to the topic I was talking about yesterday about, I think it was yesterday, about our eyes enjoying subtlety. Do we enjoy being, what's the word, smashed, visually, what's the word, hit with extreme contrast and so on? Yeah, we do kind of, yeah. But, yeah, there's, I'm still reluctant to say this. I was reluctant last night too. No, but there's something to subtle shifts are more satisfying on the whole. I'm going to say, on the whole, subtle shifts of light and texture and color are more intriguing. That's a good word. More intriguing than smack you in the face kind of contrast, right? A little drawing correction here. Always makes me a little bit nervous when I find a little mistake this late in the process, but better, way better late than never. So at the moment, I've just got this. Yeah, David's saying when you have a doubt, you must stop. You're exactly correct, of course. But of course, no, I think I'm okay. Although you did make me pause, David. That was a sigh, wasn't it? Pardon me for just a minute. I'm going to. If I don't move you, I'm going to be right in your way. I'm still in your way. I'm sorry. I just decided a little tiny bit of green, very dull green on these evergreen trees is a good idea. So let me. David brought up the subject, the issue of knowing when to quit. Yes. How many people? The old joke, my joke anyway. How many people does it take to do a painting? 2. 1 to paint, 1 to shoot them. So it sounds like David is ready to shoot me, because I should be quitting. And I am in danger. I don't think I'm over the line. I'm clearly not finished down here. There's no question. But the question is, am I finished here? And very, very close. Let me repeat something I've said several times over the last couple months. If all of your energy in your painting, in your act of painting, while you're painting, if all of your actions are geared toward and aimed toward and result in increased similitude, increased realism, increased accuracy and detail, I'm saying the same thing over and over again, you understand? If all your effort aims toward more realism, then time indeed is your enemy. Then you overdo it. I'll just say it this way: if a significant part of your painting is against realism, then you can paint longer. How much? I mean, you can still overdo it, but you do want to be careful that you're not noodling the thing to death by adding more and more and more realism. All right, I'm going to stop noodling this. No, I'm not. Sorry, one little thing I keep looking at, and it needs to be fixed. And I guess it is realism. That's very subtle. This ball, this spool of blue netting needs to be exaggerated. So I've just done that. Or not exaggerated. No. I needed a lighter color on top of what was already there. So I've done that. But now that blue, I love that blue, but it's so intense. And it makes me realize I need some of that color elsewhere in the painting. Okay, so what I'm doing right now, by the way, this is an example with this blue that I just put there, and there. That is an example of time spent on my painting. It is not realism. In a sense, you could say I just did there's no blue there in real life. There. This is actually an example of broken color. So by adding that, I've increased the level of abstraction in the painting, not the level of realism. So in that sense, you can get away with a little more noodling, I've called it, if the noodling is not greater and greater and greater realism or detail. All right, so now I'm actually doing a kind of a broken color thing right now. I've got purple, doing a similar thing I just did with the blue, but now I'm doing purple. And the objective right now is not similitude, realism, accuracy. It's pure abstraction. I could say, what is that purple dot? And the answer is ectafino. I have no idea whatsoever. It's just a purple mark, right? The question is, as I've learned from my grandchildren, being in my home for the last couple of years, why did you do that, they say. And the answer is always, because I think it's going to look cool. Because I think it looks cool. Not, as a person in the first half of their art journey would say, because it looks realistic. Ooh, that was a nice touch right there. If you can see that or not. A little bit of purple on those evergreen trees. That's broken color, classic broken color right there. Okay, that's enough. I usually, as you know, you regulars know, I do a separate, distinct, often the very last stage of my painting process is in fact broken color. So I've just launched into that a little bit, but I'm abandoning it now because I have one more fairly major task ahead of me, and that is reflection in the water, especially reflection of the sky. As you can see, I've done reflection of these boats somewhat, I think adequately probably. But I've got this big, beautiful orange, purple, and blue sky, and not very much of that in water. I'm quite happy with the way the water looks right now as an underpainting. It looks quite watery. Looks quite waterish, but except for the color and the reflection. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get started this process. Sorry, Frank. Hang on. I need to clean off my palette before I do that. So I'm going to get started by doing, first of all, reflection of the big orange cloud. Razor blade here, cleaning off my glass palette. I would guess that I do this right here, just for what it's worth, cleaning off my palette. I would guess about 6 times maybe in an average painting. It's usually just when I feel like it's gotten too messy. I've run out of room to mix new colors. Sometimes I just do it because I'm just tired of what's on the palette and want a fresh start. This stuff right here, of course, is liquid. I'm going to gather that back into a pile. Again, you can hear the rain probably around me today, and there's just enough of a mist coming in under the porch roof that I'm collecting condensation on my glass palette. All of that makes me very glad that I'm using liquid as a medium here today, because liquid, even though it's an oil medium, and everybody knows oil and water don't mix, but in fact liquid plays very well with water. Otherwise, getting this much water in your oil paint would be very bad for archival quality. But I think I'm all right. For some reason, a number of reasons I could give you, but I feel pretty confident because of the liquid that I'm okay. All right, so let's start mixing up a batch of this orange. I want the color that I mix up to be slightly darker or duller than what's in the sky, right? Reflections in glass or reflections in water. You heard that, didn't you? We're pretty close to Seymour Johnson Air Force Base here in Beaufort, and that was a low-flying military jet that just flew over. Reflections in water or in glass, the rule is not quite as light or bright and not quite as dark. In other words, the darks will reflect lighter than reality, and the lights will reflect darker. So, in other words, reflections are muted versions of, oops, you can't see that, can you? All right, let's go back up here. Reflections are muted versions of what they're reflecting. That was way too bright. I'm surprised how much I missed that. Let's try another bit. All right, that's very close. But it's a little too orange. I'm going to add some yellow ochre and some color killer, which my favorite color killer, as you may know, is a student grade raw umber. All right, I think I'm plenty close enough now to start doing some of this. It's probably going to take me longer to mix the colors than it is to paint it. Okay, now I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here, but I'm gently twirling the brushes. I have long filberts, so that's germane to this subject at hand. Long filbert brushes, and twirling them, going back and forth. Now this is a dry chip brush. I'm going to soften everything I just did. Back and forth, okay? Soften to taste, you know. All right. I'm going to lighten the color that I just put down. Slightly lighter. I'm using Naples yellow to do that. And I'm going to go over that color again with a slightly lighter color. And this time, probably, we'll see, probably leave these marks hard-edged. So I put down a bunch of horizontal striations and then blur them, and then come back and do more, and you can see more careful horizontal marks. And I am not blurring them this time, unless I decide to. I'm not going to blur them unless I do. If I do blur them, then I'll do this same exact process yet one more time. Does it make sense? Right. I know it does. Thanks. Whoops.
Man, how close to finished are you now?
Very close. I'm doing the reflection in the water.
Wow, man.
Yeah, I'm close.
Yeah, I like the way you did these boats.
Thanks.
I was worried about those boats for the longest time.
And you know what? After all that, I think I am going to smear this, soften this again. And lighten, brighten this color just one more time, maybe. And do just even fewer hard edge dots this time. let me zoom out just a little bit, because you can't see my hands, and some of you, okay, just for what it's worth, at absolutely no point in the painting of this painting so far have I ever held the brush even in this manner right here. Not once. Not even once. Now, you don't have to do exactly what I do. But if you want to receive instruction, then yeah, receive it. Holding a brush or a pen in the death control grip, the grip that you were forced to use, and it was necessary. The grip that you were forced to use when you were 6, 7, and 8 years old, and you were learning how to write letters of the alphabet. All right, I'm going to stop there with this color and do now mix up a blue. Okay, I'm going to see if I can save some of this cloud color, because I imagine I will want to do more of that later. All right. Let's mix up some blue to reflect the blue. It's up here, blue, purple, purplish blue, and tackle the reflection in the water. I very much admire Mark Carter's ability to do an entire painting without swishing his brushes in Gamsol. I admire that, but evidently, I don't know, I feel like it's a old dog, new tricks kind of thing. I'm not sure I'm ever going to get that one. Maybe. Maybe not. So you do not need to clean your brushes the way I do in Gamsol. All right, let's try to mix up this color blue up here. Some ultramarine, some dioxazine violet, and believe it or not, a little bit of phthalo. The reason that's believe it or not, is because phthalo and ultramarine are opposite ends of the blue spectrum. Phthalo being greenish is a warm blue. Ultramarine being reddish is a cool blue. And again, some of you are confused about that. Some of you were told that ultramarine, because it has reddish cast in it, is, oh boy, I don't think I have the energy to go over all that again, so sorry. No, yellow-orange is the warmest of all warm colors. If yellow color wheel in front of you, in fact, if you get a physical color wheel, put yellow-orange at the top, everything else then makes sense. The closer any color is to yellow-orange, the warmer it is. The further it gets away from that true north, the cooler it is. Therefore, a purplish blue is decidedly cooler than a greenish blue. So greenish blue is warm. Phthalo blue is warm. Ultramarine is cool. There, that was the fast version. And I know there's teachers out there who disagree with me, and bless their little heart on that one. Sorry, they're just wrong. Usually what happens is somebody was told something by somebody, and they just believe them, like I'm telling you now. So don't believe me. Nah, don't believe it just because I'm telling you. But investigate these things. Now, you physics people, here I discovered, are on a different planet when it comes to warm and cool colors. You physics people are gravely confused because they're measuring the temperature of colors by something else. I'm not sure what it is. Something that physics people do. Woo! I'm getting rained on. The wind is changing. I have 2 paintings to finish today. This one has a possible buyer, so I'm particularly anxious to finish this one. Adding a little bit of, I'm showing you more of this than I really expected to. I thought I would probably wrap up this broadcast before now, but I'm cruising along, so I'll just keep it going. I just added some permanent rose to the blue, so way more purple. Now again, to reflect what's up there, what I see up there in the sky. All right, now that I've done the blue, here we go. Here we go, round and around we go. Now that I've done that blue and purple stuff here and here, I realize that my orange stuff here in the middle can be bumped, can be accentuated a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, okay? Even more. I can go more dense here in the middle of this. There we go. That's a nice tool. A little scratching with the brush handle. And yes, I'm looking at the color in the sky fairly carefully here. All right, I'm going to stop there. I will point out that I've done a very important principle. I've accomplished principle. Back to my old friend, Bob Rankin. Let me bring you guys, forgive me just a minute. I'm going to get out of your way here in a second and let you see the painting more straight on. Hang on, still working on it. I'll get there eventually, hang on. All right, now I'm going to wrap up here, but I'll talk about for a minute about a concept called boundary ratios. I talk about it quite a bit, but I haven't talked about it in quite a while. So the rule is, I got this from Bob Rankin, you can Google him. He got it from somebody else, but I don't remember who. Is that the boundary of your painting, this assumes that you're doing a square or rectangle painting, generally speaking, not a round one. There should be a number of color breaks along every boundary. In fact, I just realized there's a possible weakness in my painting. Let's see, I'll think about it, get back to you. So for instance, let's start over here. I think you can see this well enough. This is all one color. It's got little lines, but lines don't count, okay? Purple, then brown. It's hard to tell whether to count this. I would count this as 1. It could be 2. So over here we have 1, 2, 3, color breaks along that edge of the painting. You with me? Let's go to the other side now. And so the rule is you should have a different number on each side. Over here, we have, I'd say to here is purple, then brownish, neutral, red, and purple again. So over here I have 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is this making sense to you? Major color areas where the painting goes off the edge of the canvas. So that's good. I have 3 over there and 4 over here. Now here's where there's a bit of a weakness in this painting, just a bit, and that is one color from here to here. You see, I feel like that goes off the top just enough, and that was, by the way, not an accident. It was very intentional that that orange cloud goes off the top of the painting. So I have 1, 2, 3, and you can see the weakness that might be manifesting here. Down here at the bottom, it's a very minor weakness, but down here I have 1, 2, 3. Okay, so slight weakness. In fact, tell you what, let me fix that. I see an easy fix here all of a sudden. And that is I'm picking up a blue, a pale, fairly pale, slightly dirty blue. The same blue that I just used down here in the water. So here you go. Sometimes these rules, if you will, help you do simple things that might make a difference. Forgive me, I'm trying to mix up the exact blue that I want here. Not too bright, not too dark, not too light, etc., etc. All right, I think that's all right. Frankly, I can barely, nope, that needs to be lighter and duller. Forgive me. Let's try this. There we go. There we go. Okay, so if I just make sure that this blue goes off the top of the canvas, that it's strong enough. So now I have purple, blue, orange, purple. So now I have 4 at the top, 3 at the bottom, 3 here and 4 there. That's close enough. Okay, so forgive me. You don't have to have the same number on each side because I have 3 and 4 and 3 and 4. But you don't want the equal here and here. One of the most common mistakes you can do when you're doing a landscape painting is have all blue all the way across. That's a huge common mistake. Likewise, if you're doing a seascape like this one is all water along the bottom, it would be a huge mistake if this were all the same color. So, I mean, from very early on in this painting, I knew I was going to be a reflection of the sky, so I was not worried about it. But do you see I have 3? So there you go, boundary ratios. You understand, don't you? I don't expect any non-artist, in fact, hardly expect any artist to understand, to decipher this kind of stuff. No, that's not the point. We're not painting for fellow artists. We're painting for non-artists. But it's the artist's job to know these rules so that you create a pleasant experience for the viewer, even they have no idea what's impacting them. All right, I'm going to call this done. I'm going to sign it. Actually, I'm going to do some broken color, but I'm going to do that on my own without you watching. I'm going to sign it, and I've got probably till tomorrow morning to second guess and to look at this a little bit more. Thanks, guys, for your company. I appreciate it very much. Always great fun to have you looking over my shoulder. Okay, hang on, I just saw something I want to fix. The reflection of this post right here. There's no, these posts, not enough green. There, we're good now. All right, I'll sign it and go to my other painting and come back and look at this later. Thanks for watching, bye-bye.